Hey everyone, and welcome back to that 90s pod. You ready to go on another deep dive with us?
Always.
Awesome. Today, we're going to talk about Braveheart.
Braveheart.
Yeah, that epic tale of William Wallace,
Freedom.
blue face paint, and fighting against the English.
Exactly. I think what's interesting is that Braveheart came out at a really interesting time,
Oh yeah?
both in Hollywood and in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a movie, it became a cultural touchstone,
I see what you mean, yeah.
and it reflected and arguably amplified some powerful trends of the 90s.
Okay, so set the stage for us.
Okay.
What was going on when Braveheart hit theaters in 95?
Well, first of all, the 90s had this huge fascination with epic storytelling,
Yep.
and particularly historical narratives like Titanic,
Titanic.
Saving Private Ryan,
Yeah.
huge box office successes.
They were big.
These films tapped into like a desire for these grand narratives, larger than life figures, and
Right.
stories that explored themes of identity and belonging.
It's true. And there was that global resurgence of nationalism, too.
Yes.
People were looking to connect with their heritage.
Yeah.
And Braveheart, with its story of Scottish rebellion,
Exactly.
really fed right into that.
And in Scotland especially, Braveheart came out right in the middle of
Wow.
a growing movement for devolution,
Oh.
more political autonomy from the UK.
Interesting.
So for a lot of Scottish people, the film wasn't just entertainment.
Right.
It was like a powerful validation of their own aspirations for self-determination.
Let's talk about a movie capturing a cultural moment.
Yeah,
And it wasn't just the timing.
right.
Braveheart had this raw, visceral energy to it
Absolutely.
that really resonated with audiences.
Yeah, the film's exploration of freedom, both personal and collective,
Yes.
that was a huge draw.
Yeah.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Oh, man.
I mean, come on, that line still gives me chills.
I know.
It just tapped into this universal desire for liberty,
Mhm.
a yearning that just transcends borders and historical periods.
That's so true. I remember watching it for the first time in those, sweeping shots of the Scottish Highlands and the battles, the raw emotion.
Yeah.
It's like you were right there fighting alongside William Wallace.
Yes. That immersive quality, it's a big reason why Braveheart had such a lasting impact.
I agree.
It wasn't just a visual spectacle, it was an emotional experience that stayed with you long after the credits rolled.
Definitely.
It sparked conversations about freedom, about identity, about the power of these historical narratives.
You know what? If you guys are loving this trip back to the 90s with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and
Yes.
share that 90s pod with your friends.
Spread the 90s vibes.
We're all about it.
We've established that Braveheart was a cultural phenomenon,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to look at how its influence went beyond just the big screen. In many ways, Braveheart kind of paved the way for the wave of historical dramas we see now.
Totally. Shows like The Tudors, The Last Kingdom, Outlander, they all owe a debt to Braveheart. They share that same epic scope, that blend of history, romance, and political intrigue.
And Braveheart also reignited a fascination with Scotland's past. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to learn about William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, the wars of Scottish independence.
Wow.
It even gave a boost to tourism in Scotland. People wanted to go and see where they filmed it.
Speaking of locations and filming,
Yeah.
can we talk about the battle scenes for a sec?
Oh my God.
Using over 1,600 local Scottish volunteers instead of CGI?
I know.
That's commitment to authenticity.
And it really shows on the stream.
It does.
Those battle sequences are still just breathtaking, even by today's standards.
Yeah.
But it is worth mentioning that Braveheart does take some creative liberties with the history.
The kilt thing.
The kilts. Yeah.
Come on, kilts weren't even worn in Scotland during Wallace's time.
It's a classic example of how Braveheart mixes historical fact with dramatic license.
Right.
William Wallace was a real person, but
Yeah.
the film romanticizes his story and some of the events. But, I think there's room for both historical accuracy and creative storytelling.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
So-
Despite its historical inaccuracies, Braveheart had this undeniable impact on how people saw Scotland and its history. It created this renewed interest in the country's past.
It's pretty incredible. It speaks to the power of storytelling.
It does.
Even if it's not 100% accurate,
Right.
a good story can capture imaginations and make us want to learn more.
And Braveheart was definitely a good story. It also got critical acclaim.
That's right.
Mel Gibson won an Oscar for Best Picture.
Wow.
And the film snagged 4 other awards. Best Cinematography, Best Sound Editing,
Wow.
really highlighted its technical and narrative achievements.
So Braveheart was more than just a movie.
Way more.
It was a cultural phenomenon
It was.
that captured the spirit of the 90s,
Yes.
sparked conversations about freedom and identity, and really left a mark on how we view history.
It did. It was a film that reflected its time, but its themes and that emotional core still resonate with people today.
Okay, so we've talked about the cultural landscape of the 90s,
Yeah.
the film's themes of freedom and rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
and its impact on both media and perceptions of Scotland.
Absolutely.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
Stick with us as we dive deeper into Braveheart's legacy
Okay.
and how it continues to be relevant in today's world.
I'm ready. You know, it's fascinating how Braveheart's themes
Yeah.
have managed to kind of transcend the film itself.
Right?
We see its influence pop up in unexpected places, like in political speeches.
Oh, yeah.
Leaders often evoke the fight for freedom and self-determination, drawing parallels to Wallace's struggle.
It's true. And it's not just politics. Think about sporting events.
Yes.
How often do you hear that iconic Braveheart score?
Oh, I know.
Used to, amp up the crowd or celebrate a victory.
Right. It's become this shorthand for courage, resilience, and battling against the odds. Themes of sacrifice and loyalty, standing up for what you believe in, they tap into something deeply human, something that resonates across cultures and across time periods.
You know, it strikes me that Braveheart's message of defiance seems to really resonate during times of change or unrest, when people feel like their freedoms are threatened or their voices are being silenced.
Yeah.
It's like the spirit of William Wallace kind of reemerges.
That's a really insightful observation. It's like the film provides this blueprint for resistance, a reminder that even when you're facing overwhelming odds, it's possible to fight for what you believe in.
Right.
But, and this is where things get a bit more complicated.
Okay.
That message can be both inspiring and potentially problematic.
Oh, okay. You mentioned Braveheart being potentially problematic.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? What are some of the downsides to this whole message of defiance?
Well, while Braveheart's legacy is definitely powerful, it's also complex. On the one hand, it's led to important conversations about freedom identity and the power of storytelling.
Right.
But it's important to be aware of how the film's romanticized portrayal of history can shape our perceptions of the past.
Right, so we're back to that whole fact versus fiction thing.
Exactly.
We've talked about how Braveheart takes creative liberties.
Right, and while some creative license is expected in any historical drama,
Yeah.
Braveheart does play fast and loose with some of the facts.
Yeah.
Leading to criticism from historians who say that it perpetuates these inaccuracies and myths about Scottish history.
Like the kilts.
The kilts, yeah.
I mean, come on, showing up to a battle in a kilt.
Right.
It'd be like showing up to a Civil War reenactment in a tuxedo.
Haha, exactly. But beyond the wardrobe malfunctions, the film also simplifies complex historical events and characters, creating this somewhat black and white narrative of good versus evil.
So where does that leave us? Are we supposed to dismiss Braveheart completely because it's not 100% historically accurate?
Not necessarily. I think it's important to approach historical films like Braveheart with a critical eye.
Okay.
Understanding that they're interpretations, not literal retellings of the past. You can enjoy the drama, the epic battles, the emotional roller coaster, but also take the time to dig a little deeper and learn about the real history behind the story.
It's all about being informed viewers.
Right.
Taking the good with the bad, so to speak.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to challenge the narratives you see in films.
Right.
Seek out multiple perspectives and different sources of information. That's how we develop a more nuanced and informed understanding of the past.
And that reminds me, folks, if you guys are loving this deep dive into Braveheart and its legacy, as much as we are, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and spread the word about that 90s pod. We're all about digging deeper and uncovering the stories behind the things we love.
Okay, so as we wrap up our discussion on Braveheart, let's leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question to ponder.
So, knowing what we know now about the historical inaccuracies and maybe romanticizing rebellion a bit, is Braveheart's message still relevant today? Like, how do we navigate that line between historical accuracy
that's a great question.
and the stories that we tell ourselves about the past?
Yeah, those are great questions to really think about. You know, Braveheart's themes of freedom, courage, standing up for what you believe in, they're definitely timeless, but like we've been saying, it's important to remember that history is complex. and nuanced. It's rarely as simple as just good guys versus bad guys.
It's true. It's like we can be inspired by the passion and the fight for freedom while also knowing that the film's portrayal of history isn't completely accurate.
Exactly.
Right.
We can appreciate the emotional impact of the film while also thinking critically about the historical context. And that's really the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being informed viewers, being critical thinkers.
As we all continue to try to deal with our own challenges and try to make a better future, it's important to learn from the past, right?
It is.
Both the good and the bad.
Absolutely. And to be critical consumers of media, seeking out different perspectives and having thoughtful discussions about how history is represented and interpreted.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Braveheart.
I know.
It's been a wild ride through 90s nostalgia, epic battles, and some really thought-provoking discussions about history, freedom, and the power of storytelling.
We hope you enjoyed going on this journey with us.
I know I did.
And remember, if you're enjoying these deep dives into 90s culture, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends all about that 90s pod. We'll be back soon.
We will.
With another blast from the past.
Until then, stay rad.